I came across a video that I did in 2023. I was talking about how just by being you can enact change into others. You can become the catalyst to change for someone else's life. And you would actually be able to impact their lives, both positively as well as in some ways and cases negatively. And I don't look at that as a good or bad thing. I look at it from the perspective of duality, meaning that you have to have the good, you have to have the bad in order to have the good, and vice versa. And so sometimes the most traumatic things that happen to you in your life, which in this instance would be considered a bad thing or a negative thing, actually turns out to be one of the greatest things for yourself. I remember in 2019, when I was building my personal brand, near the tail end of it, I was not succeeding to the level that I could have, or that I would have if I had clarity, if I was not drinking, if I wasn't getting lost in the sauce, and if I was just practicing and instilling the true values that I have at my core. And so, that for me in that experience was a very bad thing. I was in a lot of pain. I felt like I was so alone, even though I was surrounded with people. I just was lost, really. And I felt like I was off my path. And fast forward a few years later, upon reflection, upon doing inner work, upon doing the work to help me become me again, I realized the simple truth that everything I've gone and done and experienced has always been on path. And what I mean by that is, no matter what decisions I made, no matter what path I took, every single experience that I had up until this point has always been on path. Even if I felt lost, even if I've felt humiliated, even if I felt humbled, whatever that feeling was, that experience, it was always on path. And I want to give a big shout out to my significant other, Crystal, because at the tail end of my 2019 run in my business, I got a chance to meet Crystal. And after we started to develop our relationship further, she really opened my eyes and my mind and my being to who I truly am. I just needed to remember. I forgot. And so, all the bad things that happened to me, if it wasn't for all of those experiences, I may have not met Crystal, right? And that's like what I mean, is that, you never know what's going to be bad. You never know what's going to be good. You never know what it's going to lead to, right? But I think that the point that I really want to emphasize here is, no matter where you are in your journey in life, whether you're pursuing business goals, relationship goals, health goals, fulfillment goals, you name it, just stay on your path, stay on that journey, never quit, right? Keep on going through the dark times, through the light times, you name it, just keep on going, because sooner than later you'll realize, or I hope you do, that everything is always on path, and you just have to keep on going through that fire, right? There's a core pillar for my media company, which is an embodiment of myself, really, and it's a philosophy that I like to instill within my clients, within the work I do, within my lifestyle, within everything that extends from myself, okay? Like I said before, what I truly believe in terms of a marketing principle, which is universal to me, is whatever you reflect into the world is what you attract back in. And so the fire, the flame, that to me is a core pillar of my media company, simply because I truly believe that the fire, when you go through fire, it transmutes, it transcends, it transforms whatever you, the being, is into your next version, right? To your full potential. Whatever that is for your business, right? Your product or service, you transmute it, you transform it, you transcend it to the next level, right? You may start at level 1, where it's like you just ideated it, you created it, then you brought it into existence, you put it against the market. I'm talking in terms of business, because that's something that I'm really focused on right now, but this can be extended to anything in your life. And for me, when I think about putting my products and services my ideas, my philosophies, just anything that I'm touching, anything that I'm working on, focused on, I put it through the fire because I want to evolve it. I want to transform it. I want to transmute it. I want to transcend it to the next level that it can be, so that way it can serve for the greater good. And I know I'm talking more on the business side of things, but for me, for example, something that I wrestled with 2023 up until now, and I feel really good about it, is, when AI came out, 2023, it became widely accessible to the general public. For me, in terms of my consulting firm, my consulting business, I had to figure out the question of how do I transcend, transform my consulting business? How do I add AI into the mix so that way, instead of my consulting business being pushed out of the market simply because of lack of transforming, of transcending, of evolving, right, of figuring out ways to add more value to my clientele, to the market, how do I bring AI and mix it in? And so I dove deep into using AI. I dove deep into learning about AI, and I'm not an expert in AI whatsoever. I'm still on the journey of learning it, but I've been implementing it every single day. I've been using AI every single day. I've figured out how to combine AI with consulting for myself, with my business. And even my brick and mortar business, I'm able to use AI and automate a few things. I'm able to use AI to speed up workflows, operational workflows, solve inefficiencies in operations. And I think for me, when it comes to FIRE again, this is like one of the biggest key takeaways I wanted whoever's watching this to really receive, is if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or just an individual leader, though, okay? I see individuals as leaders because I truly believe that everything rises and falls in leadership, right? You are the leader of your own ship. Your ship meaning your life. So you are in full control. You are fully responsible for your life. No one else is. You can only control your actions. You can only control your decisions. You can only control what goes in your mind, what goes out of your mouth, and what you do, right? And so I think one of the biggest things that I think it's important for every single leader out there to do is to establish your principles, to establish your core beliefs, to establish your philosophy for how you do things, what drives your organization, what drives your life, your decisions, your actions, etc. And for me, right, just to give you a real life example, like the fire, the flame, that has always been something that I personally have resonated with deeply. And throughout, my referencing my videos and stuff, I talk about the fire. I even had I hosted a coaching session every single day for 18 months, 90 days straight, 18 months, and for the past few years. And it's called FIREHOUR, right? Where I literally was just, Crystal and I, we would just teach, share, divulge information, knowledge, experience, education, you name it, all on personal branding, marketing, business, scaling, all these different elements of business, right? And even extending to finance. And because, obviously finance is one of the foundational pillars of a business, you must know that. So, but the whole, if I were to summarize what FIREHOUR was, it's transformation, right? So that is directly aligned with one of my core pillars, with one of my media core pillars, with one of our company philosophies. And so, if you can take one thing away from this, like as an action item, especially when you're building your business, you're building your life, right? I would encourage you and advise you to identify your core pillars, because once you have that foundation set, it's gonna give you solid ground to stand on firmly, to test all the decisions you make, both internally and externally, against your core pillar, to really see if that is something that you truly believe in, to really see that if that is something that you can truly stand behind, right? If that is something that you can truly share with the world, like I'm doing right now. I truly believe that fire is something that I can stand behind. And it's because of transformation. It's because when I've worked with people, when even just speaking with friends and family and loved ones, when we get into deep conversation of transformation, right? Of, you know, here's where I'm at today, here's where I want to be tomorrow or in the future, whatever your current situation is and your desired situation, right? That right there is transformation. You have to go through the fire. You have to be willing to step through that fire, walk through the fire in order to get to where you want to be. All right, there is a philosophical framework called Be Do Have. I didn't know about it. I just came out with it on one of the coaching sessions that I hosted, and I was like, wow, this is really good, because this is talking about transformation. It's talking about identifying who you need to be in order to have what you truly desire, but you have to do all the things in order to bridge the gap between being and having, right? And this extends to everything in your life. So again, one takeaway as I wrap up this video, you know, identify through discovery, through exploration, what is your core pillar? What is just one of them? Start with one. If you don't have any already, start with one and then continue on. See what truly resonates with yourself, what truly aligns with yourself, so that way you can stand on firm ground for yourself as a foundation to build upon your life. Okay. If you have any questions in regards to this, like, by you asking questions, it helps me think, helps me strategize, helps me just imagine, helps me imagine more, helps me discover, helps me explore. And I'm open to asking questions. I'm open to seeking more information, to being able to embody new information, that things that I have not thought about before, things that I have not read, things that I have not learned. Fire, transformation, like life change, impacting people's lives, like that is something that I'm truly passionate about. And I think that's why I wanted to talk about this today. I've been really wrestling with this idea of fire and our one of the core pillars that I have. So, you know, if you have a question, ask. If you like this type of content, follow the journey. And number 3, if you're building a business, your business is doing 1 million to 3 million, but you want to scale more, book a call and we'll assess viability. But this right here, again, you know, this is my second video I do in years, and I'm very excited to continue this journey. It is painful. I'm going through the suffering, but this is like the fire that I'm going through. This is the fire that I'm pushing myself through to transform, to evolve into who I want to be. So hope you have an amazing day. Dominate your path, make it happen. Let's get it.